Welcome back to Black Cat Crypto Club. My name is Drake. Now, yesterday I told you guys how this is Sabby. I had to take her to the vet yesterday, and she did end up having two broken bones in her right paw. So she's still doing okay. She's feisty as heck, but I did get some medication for her, and the vet said that she'll just kind of be able to heal naturally over the next few months. So anyways, wanted to update you guys on that. This video, we're going to be going over a little bit more of the inflation stuff because we did have CPI inflation numbers come out today. So I'm going to get into all of that for you guys. Pretty interesting stuff. But before we get to that, I wanted to kind of talk about these small sanctuaries that I promote here every month. And there's a lot of YouTube videos out there that take paid promotions, and they'll do little commercials that kind of come off as like the way I'm doing these small sanctuaries. But I can assure you, I am not paid. There's no financial gain for me with this thing. It's just something that I really believe in and care about. I've actually been part of this group that chooses these small sanctuaries every month to support. And I joined this group in like mid 2018, I believe. So I've been part of this group for about 6 years now. And not only do I go out and help promote these sanctuaries, but I also have been donating every single month for the last 6 years to these sanctuaries. So there's no financial benefit for me showing you guys these sanctuaries. In fact, it's kind of the opposite. I actually give money every single month. For the last 6 years, I've been giving to these sanctuaries. So with that, this is the sanctuary that we're supporting this month. And so any little bit of anything you can donate really goes a long ways to these small sanctuaries that I present to you guys, because they don't have a lot of funding like other big sanctuaries do. And little sanctuaries like this, they really do kind of struggle just to make ends meet on the animals that they're taking care of. So any little bit of help really goes a long way. And honestly, if you want to talk about karma, let's just take into consideration my situation. So over the last few years, in 2018, same time I started really helping out with these sanctuaries, I kind of hit rock bottom. I decided to leave and go through a divorce, and I didn't have anywhere to go. So I ended up at the age of like 40, 38 or 40, I decided to move back home with my mom, and it was just kind of a blow, moving back when you're 40 years old isn't ideal. And in 2020, I ended up moving out of my mom's house, and I was living in a rundown, dilapidated trailer, fifth wheel trailer, where every time it rained, I had a leak in the roof right above my bed. And every time it rained, I'd wake up to having just a soaked chest from the water dripping down, and my bed was just soaked every single time it rained. And so I went from that to, in 2020 to 2021, having all of the funding that I needed to build the home that I'm in now. And it really is kind of my dream home. Like it's the home that I've wanted for quite a long time, with a lot of garage space. I have an entire, the entire first floor is basically garage and shop. And so it's just funny. If you believe in karma, I mean, this is a case in point where that seems to have happened. But I don't know, guys. I don't know if I believe in karma or whatnot, but donating to sanctuaries like this will bring some positivity into your life, at very least. And I think everybody kind of needs that. So $1, $5, $10, whatever you guys can spare, it's a win-win situation. There's no downside, and it helps with your taxes. So hit up Easy's Rescue Ranch. I'll leave all of their information in the description of the video. Now, let's get into it. We have CPI inflation that came out today. And we're going to hop over here to CNBC. Consumer prices rose 0.4% in February and 3.2% from a year ago. The Consumer Price Index, a broad measure of goods and services costs, increased 0.4% for the month and 3.2% from the year. Monthly measures was in line with expectations, while the 12-month reading was slightly higher. So I think we've seen Wall Street and stocks kind of reacting and digesting this information, and we haven't really seen a big thing of it. Even in Bitcoin, we're down a bit today as people are digesting it. But I think as a whole, the market is kind of seeing this as no change from what we're expecting. And I think everybody's expecting rate cuts possibly in May. We probably won't see them this month at the FOMC meeting in March this month. But I think a lot of people are expecting rate cuts in May. So we will see about that. There's a few reasons why I think rate cuts really are going to be coming this year, and substantially. And the first reason is it's an election year. So typically they like to stimulate and give out money, essentially print a bunch of money during election years. It's just kind of how it works out. So that's the first thing. The second thing is Jerome Powell he's literally been saying it several times. He's done several interviews, and he's just come out and said that he thinks it's likely we're going to be cutting rates this year. I'm going to hop over to a clip and show you guys what he actually says.
We believe that our policy rate is likely at its peak for this tightening cycle. If the economy evolves broadly as expected, it will likely be appropriate to begin dialing back policy restraint at some point this year.
So you can kind of see there, he's all but saying that, yeah, we're going to start cutting this year. So that's the second reason. The third reason is that banks are starting to fail again. We've seen New York Community Bank just failing since early this year. And I think that's going to really kind of force their hand as well. But we got to kind of understand that last year we had a slew of bank failures, and the Fed stepped in and essentially bailed them out. They opened up this Federal Reserve window where they were lending out at a low rate to banks specifically, and banks that were in trouble, just kind of a bailout for them. But that window closed in February, and we've already started to see banks going under with New York Community Bank. So there's going to be more bank failures here in the future, guys. And again, we're going to go over to a clip of Jerome Powell testifying before Congress, where surprisingly, he comes out and outright says this, which is really surprising because these guys are all about instilling confidence in the banking system. That's their worst nightmare, for people to lose trust in the banking system. So they do everything they possibly can to maintain that public relationship PR thing where oh, the banks are secure, the banks are safe, guys. But it's interesting to see him come out and say this. I'm going to jump over. This is a little clip of his testimony before Congress, and let's just watch.
I want to talk a little bit about the commercial real estate and what's happening there. The Financial Stability Oversight Council's 2023 annual report identified commercial real estate as a financial risk. And the Fed's monetary report also noted commercial real estate prices continue to decline, especially in the office, retail, and multifamily sectors. I'm especially concerned that because of the low levels of transactions in the office sector, prices have not yet fully reflected the true decline in the value. So can you expand on the emerging risks the Federal Reserve has identified in the commercial real estate market, one? And then I'm curious, can you discuss the compound risks identified in commercial real estate lending, particularly at banks with large CRE concentrations and high fractions of uninsured deposits?
Sure. Let me say, I think there are just very, very few transactions in commercial real estate right now, particularly in the troubled areas. So it's not a question of prices still falling. It's a question that you don't have that kind of price discovery. You just have to assume that the prices are very low and have come down a lot. So on commercial real estate, we have a secular change in people working from home. This is one big part of it. That means that in many cities, the downtown office district is very underpopulated. There are empty buildings in many major and minor cities. It also means that all the retail that was there to service the thousands and thousands of people who work in those buildings, they're under pressure too. And banks will have made loans to many of those buildings. Not all of them, but many. So this we've known for some years. And so what do? We have identified the banks that have high commercial real estate concentrations, particularly office and retail, and other ones that have been affected a lot. We identify them, and we are in dialogue with them around, do you have your arms around this problem? Do you have enough capital? Do you have enough liquidity? Do you have a plan? You're going to take losses here. Are you being truthful with yourself and with your owners? And so we've been working with them. And so for some time we've been doing that. And this is a problem that we'll be working on for years more, I'm sure. There will be bank failures, but this is not the big banks. If you look at the very big banks, it's not a first order issue for any of the.
So, guys, he's basically come out and said, yeah, there's going to be bank failures. And that's surprising, but it's interesting to hear him say, but this isn't the big banks. Don't panic. It's that PR thing. But also, it kind of creates this weird thing where it's almost like he's urging people to flock to these big banks like JP Morgan, Bank of America, and on and on. But what that does is it just makes this banking system even more centralized and more monopolized by big banks. So I don't know what the message to take from that is really, but it's interesting to see him come out and say that banks are going to fail. Not a lot of confidence there. And the last thing that really, for me, solidifies that there will be rate cuts this year is the national debt, guys. This is the national debt clock. And right up here, you can see the US national debt is just climbing and climbing. We're at $34.5 trillion in national debt. That is right over here, $266,500 for every man, woman, child, retiree, everyone. Every single citizen essentially owes $266,000. So if you've got a newborn baby, $266,000. I mean, this is insanity, guys. Most people don't even have $5,000 in savings. I mean, there are so many people that are just living check to check, and yet essentially we owe hundreds of thousands of dollars in national debt. So what typically happens with this is they step in and do quantitative easing, they do rate cuts, and they stimulate, because that means there's more money coming in, there's more taxes that they gain, and it kind of brings this number ideally down a bit. But it's just crazy, this number, this $34.5 trillion debt is insane. And we've seen multiple nearly government shutdowns over this very issue. But what's really interesting is it's not one party or the other. I know in politics they like to play it that way. But guys, last night I ran the numbers, and the last 4 presidents that we've had have generated, and we've had 2 Republican presidents. We've had we've had Trump and George Bush. And then we've had Biden and Obama. So equal when it comes to parties, and they've all been equally horrible on national debt. But the last 4 presidents alone have contributed over $21 trillion worth of this debt. That is almost 2/3, guys, in just the last 4 presidents alone. It's insane. And yet it's so irritating to me that we see people latching on to these narratives that they feed us, these meaningless narratives that we're fed to keep us fighting amongst each other instead of focusing on the real problem, and that is these politicians doing these horrible things and spending all kinds of money, getting rich themselves, and really putting us, the people, in a horrible position. And these are narratives that are absolutely meaningless, guys. Like what gender pronouns people want to be called, and gas stoves. Literally having us biting and tearing each other apart over meaningless bull. It's insane. And people really need to get over this crap and actually start seeing the problems that are important. People play into this one team spectator sport they call politics. And it doesn't matter. Both of these parties are guilty of the most important things like this. And they feed us this little narrative, oh, pronouns. Oh, guys, gas stoves. And we go nuts over it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I offended you about your favorite political team. But guys, it is absolutely insane. Now, I am going to hop back over to another thing, and this is about hyperinflation and just how fast it can kick in. This is the Argentinian peso to the US dollar. So it's going along. It's declining maybe a little bit, but nothing big to be felt. Maybe similar to the Fed's 2% inflation goals. Going along. Things are fine.
And it's gone.
And it's gone. And this drop from here to way down here, this happened in like 3 or 4 months for Argentina. So it's crazy, guys. You can be going along, and yes, inflation's a thing, but it's not something you really feel until it's too late. And then hyperinflation kicks in and you've lost everything. So share this video with somebody, because I am actually very worried about people and inflation like this, because it's scary. It's scary what's going on with money printing, inflation, and the possibilities of it only takes that one meme to kick in that way of thinking, and the dollar is absolutely worthless. I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy because, especially lately, the dollar is under pressure because we have this organization called BRICS. It started off as 5 nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, I believe. And since then, it's grown to a much bigger number of countries, but they're all looking to de-dollarize. They're looking to go off of the dollar. And so once they dump all of their dollars onto the market, inflation's not, I mean, that is going to kick in some serious inflation. Not to mention, you have people like me dumping all of their dollars onto the market as well. So I'm sorry, but I'm out. I'm out of the dollar, guys. So I'm not saying that everybody should do that. But if you aren't seriously considering some way to hedge yourself against the possibility, I don't know what you're doing. It's crazy. I hope everybody is at least trying to find at least a way to keep some portion of their money hedged against the possibility of hyperinflation. So if you know anybody that you care about, that you think needs to know this, please share this around. I really worry about people, guys, and I don't see it getting better for sure. Anyways, guys, that's the video for today. If you liked it, please like, share, and subscribe as always. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.